morning, everybody. We're on our way to North Carolina, to the area where Fannie James came from originally. As you may recall, she, along with her husband Samuel, were the founders of Jewell, that later became Lake Worth Beach. And she was born in Granville County, but her family lived in the adjacent counties in Caswell and Person County, and her husband Samuel came from just north of here in Virginia in Halifax County. So we're going to these areas to see what we can learn about her background and her family. And it's very interesting that this was a large tobacco growing area. In this area, there were a lot of slaves because tobacco cultivation is very labor intense, but there are also a large number of free blacks and some very industrious, skilled people, cabinet makers, and so forth that originates from this area. So let's see what we can find out here in Caswell, Person, and Granville counties, North Carolina. Stay tuned. Good afternoon, everybody. Here we are in Yanceyville, North Carolina, in Caswell County. This is a significant place in the history of Fannie James' family. Her parents, Henry Jones and Lucy Magnum, lived here for about the first 18 years of their marriage before moving to Oxford, North Carolina, which is just about 20 miles west or east of here, where Fannie was born in 1843. And so unfortunately the museum is closed today, but this house was built in 1822, would have been here when Fannie's parents lived here, and we're hoping to dig up some more information on their background. They were from a little town north of here called Milton, and we'll be checking that out later on today. Here we are in Milton, North Carolina, the home of Henry Jones, Fannie James' father. Here we are in the Milton, North Carolina cemetery. This is the town where Fannie James's father, Henry Jones, was from, and where he lived with Fannie's mother, Lucy Mangum, before they moved to Oxford. And a very interesting town, affluent, lots of fancy houses, and apparently it was tobacco plantation money coming into this relatively small town, and very interesting place to visit. Good morning, everybody. Here we are in historic Roxboro, North Carolina, which is the county seat of Persons County, just west of Granville County, where Fannie James was born. And we're going to go to the county courthouse and to the library this morning and see if we can dig up some more information on the family. Here we are in Oxford, North Carolina, in Granville County. This is where Fannie James was born, and this was another town that was very affluent, based on tobacco plantations around about. Lots of cool architecture here. So, Scott McCabe.
Yes.
We've been digging around here in Oxford, North Carolina for the last couple of days.
What we found is that we found where we believe Fannie's mother lived, and maybe where Fannie spent some of her time. And it was we knew that there was a bordello that was next to where Fannie lived, so we found the location of where the bordello was. This is maybe what it looked like 180 years ago. Yeah.
Anyway, it's been fun working with you, Scott.
Thanks. It's been fun working with you.
Thanks for your
Always better when you got someone that can appreciate what you're talking about.
Great, thank you. We've had an interesting 4 days here in Caswell County, Person County and Granville County, North Carolina, on the trail of Fannie James and trying to learn more about her background and her family. Very interestingly, her parents were married and had a marriage license that was recorded in Person County. They were free blacks, at least from the 1820s. And seems like the family had various fortunes, that they were quite poor at times, and living in an area next to the poorhouse, and apparently a bordello, a house of ill repute on the poor side of town, but later also owned a small house and 10 acres of land, and made their way in the world. And I think that maybe Fannie had been apprenticed at one time, which was a sort of bondage, which was the equivalent of slavery, but we don't have enough evidence yet really to tell more details about that. But she, her family was from this area, and her sisters and so forth lived in Caswell and Granville counties up until the time that the family, or most of the family, migrated to Ohio during the Civil War. So it's interesting to see the culture here and to say bits and pieces about Fannie's family and her background. She lived in this area for about the first 20 years of her life before leaving for Ohio. And there's a lot more to be discovered and told, and we want to thank Scott McCabe for his assistance in research, and also the local historical society, which has been very helpful to us. And you can read more about Fannie James, and especially her life in this area, North Carolina, Ohio, and then in Florida, in the book Pioneers of Jewell by yours truly. So thank you for listening, and we hope you find this local history of Lake Worth Beach interesting and informative.